and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Welcome everyone to Tando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I am your host, Dave from LA, coming to you live from FEMA Region number 6. And it is February the 2nd, 2017. It is a Thursday. We have a live show for you today. Looking forward to getting started in that show. Everyone, continue to support Black Talk Radio Network and all of the programs that are brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. Go to the website, and on the far right-hand margin, you'll see the icon, the green icon for donations. Please give some of your financial energy, some of your cash, so that this network can continue to meet and facilitate the overall growing needs of the audience and your overall appetite for what goes on at Black Talk Radio Network from all of the programs that are brought to you by that. That is actually, there's a cost that goes along with that, of course, and this is something that you can do to ensure that we have Black Talk Radio Network and all the programs that are here and what they're doing for you. So give some of your financial energy, make donations that you can make based off of you, how your overall connection with Black Talk Radio Network and all of the shows and where it's going, because it's something that needs to continue to go further, and it definitely needs to be here in the future. Just imagine if Black Talk Radio Network had never came about. You would still be who you are, but you may not know some of the things that you know now. And one of the things that you may not know is you may not know yourself, because I know from me listening to the network and from me being a part of the network, it actually offered a different part of myself. So it's very, very important that we support this network. So give some of your financial energy. It's very, very important. Okay? So also, Black Talk Radio Network has established a social media network. You've been hearing about it. This is something that has already been facilitated and is there in its BTR community. You can go to www.btrcommunity, or right there on the website for Black Talk Radio Network. You can see the B that's there, the icon that's there on the far right-hand margin. Just go down, you'll see it there. And this is a social media network where you can engage in all of your social media activities. You don't have to be on the mainstream ones. There are alternatives to that, and there are good reasons why you would want to go to an alternative, like alternative media. If you are a alternative media person, then you need to have an alternative media social media outlet, and that being BTR Community, which was designed and put together for you so that you won't be adversely affected by your overall posting, your comments or anything of that nature. You won't be screened. A lot of people don't realize that Facebook is actually used as a dequalifier on many, many things, because the system gets to go into, from the trick and the deception that it is a great gossip channel for you to just gossip and tell everything about and tell how you feel, and you're not going to be adversely affected by it. No, that's data mining that's being done there. So come on over to BTR Community, where you don't have to worry about you being adversely affected for your comments, your postings, your ideas, or something that you want to publicize or something that you want to give light to or highlight or make aware. Some things that you want to make aware. It could be yourself, your business, or some event that's going to happen. And it's only $24 a year, $24 a year for Black Talk, for BTR Community, the social media outlet. So definitely be a part of that. Also, if you are interested in acquiring precious metals, definitely go to Prosperity Mint, PROSPERITYMINT. And this is very, very important, especially for the things that's going to be going on in the world. You're going to have to really secure your overall financial well-being. You need to save in real money, not in notes, not in a note that someone writes you to say, I owe you, I promise that this will be paid. And then when they default on that note, or they don't pay that promise because that note is no longer redeemable, then you will be stuck. And we don't want you to be that. So go to Prosperity Mint and definitely email wolf6pack1@gmail.com. Wolf, the number 6, PACK, the number 1@gmail.com. And they will, just let them know that you are interested in purchasing some metals, and then they will contact you and give you and just make sure that you're overall buying practice and explain the process to you, okay? Also, if you would like some Girl Scout cookies, you can text me, 951-790-8330 to get some Girl Scout cookies. So definitely text me if you are interested in getting some Girl Scout cookies. Okay, so let's jump into what's in the news. But before we do that, I want to sincerely thank you all for listening to Tando Radio Show, because there are other things that you could be doing instead of listening to Tando Radio Show. So we definitely appreciate you. And we have a live show for you today, and I think it's going to be a very, 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 very important show. Did I say it was very important? Okay. I think it is going to be very keen, and it will actually lay out probably pretty much what we've been talking about and what we've been trying to get you to see and to prepare yourself. And we're going to take a look at some of the current events in the world from a Pepper's point of view. And this is very, very, very important, because I think you'll see what we've been talking about is starting to come to full fruition, and you can start to see the pieces of the puzzle coming in to full focus more and more. But I think it's very important for you to know these things and then to respond appropriately to it, because I always say they always tell you before they do it. And that this is happening because it gives them even more leverage. Now, what I see happening is exactly what we've been talking about since we've been on air here at Black Talk Radio Network, which has been nothing but a true fortunate situation from the relationship with you all, with the network and everything else. And I really look forward to developing that relationship even more. So let's jump into what's in the news. But before we do that, at any time, if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate. Give us a call. 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. We really do appreciate, I love hearing from some of the listeners and engaging that interaction that we have. All of the brothers and sisters throughout the world, man, we really do appreciate you. And then, give us a call if you have any question or comment. Regardless, don't be shy. If you have any question or comment about anything that you would want to bring to air, we would love to talk to you, because this is why we are here, is to provide you with some information so that we can actually have the like-mindedness to resonate and to grow and to centralize its overall abilities, so that those abilities can actually be a solution to many of the problems and the many of the obstacles and adversities that we're going to be facing in the future. So it is a case in point of where this is a matter of you first protecting yourself, your family, and the overall community. And the overall community, ladies and gentlemen, is every single person that listens to Tando Radio Show. Every single person that listens to Black Talk Radio Network. I have a commitment to you as to bring the information so that you can make decisions that are best interest of you, and in that, build a relationship for us so that we can come together jointly in a collective prudence and put ourselves in a position of advantage collectively. So this is why we're here, and we truly do appreciate you because of that. So anytime if you'd like to jump in on the conversation, question, or comment, just give us a call, 866-510-9025. Then hit **, and that will prompt you to where you can make your question or comment, and we will see you on the board. All right, so let's jump into what's in the news. So let me just, it's a little chilly here for me in FEMA region number 6. Man, FEMA region number 9 was warm. I missed the warmth of FEMA region number 9, if you know what I mean. All right, so let me jump into what's in the news. Hey, Monster. So let's go to what's in the news. Okay, first article. Let me just get this situated. Very, very important article. One of the featured articles let me go down. I'm glad I saw it. Let me go down. Okay, first article. Posted this one yesterday, and this is very, very important. After the show, Tando Radio Show was off. Another great show from Brother Davis on Wise Wednesday from the Davis team, Sister Davis and Brother Davis, as always. Priceless. So, excuse me. What I want to do is pick up from some of the things that we posted yesterday. This one comes from the first article from What's in the News. What's in the News? This comes from AP, Associated Press.org. The news from the Associated Press. Washington, AP. President Donald Trump, celebrity figurehead President Donald Trump, threatened in a phone call with his Mexican counterpart to send U.S. troops to stop bad hombres down there unless the Mexican military does more to control them itself, according to an excerpt from a transcript of the conversation obtained by the Associated Press. That's from an expert from the conversation of the Associated Press. Basically, man, the celebrity figurehead humiliated and was very authoritative and very, from what this article is saying, was arrogantly and undiplomatically uncouth in his treatment of the Mexican president of Mexico. And check out this article, and you can actually, from just reading this, you can see where this is going. And this is going to deteriorate a relationship huge. So basically, let me just pull this up real quick. So just give you an idea, just a quick synopsis of what happened. So during this phone conversation, allegedly, from the Associated Press in their article, says that the celebrity figurehead, Donald Trump, called the celebrity figurehead president of Mexico. And in their exchange, Donald Trump basically said that that he would send the U.S. military down there to do what his country's military is unable to do, nor is basically, I'm going to surmise it, basically willing because they're afraid. Because they're afraid. And he basically, in my words, some estimations, and it was basically because there's a vested interest that he was basically saying also, in so many words. So let me just read this one part of it so you can draw your own conclusion, okay? President Trump warned in a phone call with Mexican counterpart that he's ready to send U.S. troops to stop bad hombres down there unless the Mexican military does more to control. The comments were described as lighthearted. The White House said Thursday that the remarks in an excerpt obtained by the Associated Press from a transcript of an hour-long conversation were part of a discussion of how the U.S. and Mexico could work. Oops, it jumped on me. Let me just. Could collaboratively to combat drug cartels and other criminal elements and make the border more secure. Remember what we played on Friday when the one professor that was in the administration, former the governmental administrations of the former president, I think it was Fox, I'm not quite sure, where he says that, you know what, we could flood the United States with drugs. We have tactics if the United States wants to pull out of NAFTA. There are things that we could do. We can flood them with drugs. So this was after that, the official spoke on the conditions of anonymity because he was not authorized to discuss the details publicly. Described the conversation pleasant and constructive. You have a bunch of bad hombres down there, Trump told President Enrique Pena Nieto, according to the excerpts given to the AP. You are not doing enough to stop them. I think your military is scared. Our military isn't. So I just might send them down there to take care of it. The comments came last Friday in a phone conversation between Trump and Pineda. The excerpts from the transcript did not detail whom Trump considered bad hombres, nor did it clear the tone and context of the remarks. The Mexican government said the negative sentiments reported in AP did not occur during the call. Let me go down a little further. I'm not going to go too much further. You can see where this went. It did, in my opinion, this definitely did happen. The remarks offered a rare and shrinking look at how the new president is conducting diplomacy behind closed doors. Trump's remarks suggest he is using the same bravado with the world leaders that he used to rally crowds on the campaign trail. At the National Private Breakfast on Thursday, Trump told the large crowd that his calls with world leaders have to be tough. You will hear about the tough phone calls I'm having. Don't worry. It isn't things. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it, he said. They're tough. The president added that the world is in trouble and that the U.S. is being taken advantage of by other countries. We are going to straighten it out, he said. That's what I do. I fix things. And one of the things I know about Trump don't fix nothing. Trump bankrupts everything. That's just my opinion. This is the history of things for me. So there was Sanchez, a spokesman for the Mexican president office, said the conversation was respectful, not hostile or humiliating. It's obvious. It is absolutely false that the president of the United States threatened to send troops to Mexico, Sanchez said in an interview on Wednesday night. The Mexican Foreign Relations Department had earlier told AP that the negative sentiments you were referring to did not occur during that telephone call. On the contrary, the tone was constructive. The phone call between the leaders was intended to patch things between the two presidents and his allies. The two have a series of political spats over Trump's determination to have Mexico pay for the planned border wall, something Mexico steadfastly refuses to agree to. A person with access to the official transcript on the phone call provided only that the portion of the conversation to the AP, the person was unauthorized to provide the transcripts publicly. Oops, let me move this down before I lose. Uh-oh. I think I lost my spot. Okay, publicly. Let me see. Oh, man, lost my spot. All right, so, okay, here it is. The Mexican website said Tuesday a similar account of the phone call based on the reporting of journalist Estelle. The report described Trump as humiliating the Mexican president in a confrontational tone. Mexico's Foreign Relations Department said the report was based on absolute falsehoods. Okay, now, what was actually said that the Mexican president was actually very upset. But see, one of the smart things that Mexico did was they understand international diplomacy, so they put out this type of thing because by them responding to this way, this tells you that it did happen. And then, Trump has also said it pretty much in so many ways without saying it out loud. But this is going to foster something else that is going to be huge from that. So, in my opinion, this is something that probably did happen and is brokering some bad blood between the two countries over NAFTA, over immigration, which you already know, and you can only imagine what the conversation was really like. It's more likely that this was true than not. But here's the important part of it, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So from that, There's another article, and I want to tie these two articles in together. That's in the news because they go together. From that, there's another article that comes from Sputnik News. Mexico begins consultations to set parameters for renegotiation of NAFTA. On January the 23rd, the celebrity president of the United States, Donald Trump, promised to renegotiate NAFTA during his presidential campaign. Trump offered criticism and pledged to repeal NAFTA unless the agreement was renegotiated in a way that would be more favorable to the United States. And this is why the Mexican president had canceled coming to the United States, so to speak. And then this is where this conversation goes on. But here's the important part about this whole thing. That conversation that they're talking about, that probably definitely did happen, because now Mexico is actually seeking consultation to set parameters for a new renegotiation of NAFTA. Here we go. Mexico will begin a formal 90-day process of consultations with the private sector to fix the parameters for renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Agreement with the United States and Canada, the Mexican Foreign Ministry said on yesterday. Here comes, to me, the very critical part. The Mexican government will initiate formal processes for consultation with the private sector and other relevant players for 90 days to fix the parameters which guide the revisions of the deepening of the North American Free Trade Agreement. The statement reads, NAFTA was signed by the United States and Mexico in 1994. Okay, now, to facilitate trade between the two. Reading between the lines, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, who do you think that Mexico is seeking counsel with? Who do you think that they're seeking counsel from? Knowing what this conversation was just now, that was reported in the Associated Press, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you were Mexico, who would you? Knowing that you have natural resources and you have goods to be traded for, particularly food, oil, precious metals, particularly silver. So who in the world would you be looking to, and other resources and other assets? Who would you be looking in the market to create a trade deal with when you already know that the relationship with the United States is gone? The former president of Mexico Fox said that Mexico was not paying for no, he used an expletive word, starts with an F, wall. We're not building no wall. So who do you think that Mexico, after this conversation with Trump and their contact with Trump, is now going to go to? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. They're going to go to China. They're going to go to China. And they're going to go to China and say, China, would you like to make a trade deal? We would like to be in on some of your trade deals. We would like to be in on the ASEAN nation trade, the trades that's going on there. We would like to be on the One Belt, One Road agreement. We would like to continue fair trade globally. Would you be interested? Or China may call Mexico. This is getting huge, ladies and gentlemen, and the overall. See, one of the things that what's happening here is the big setup. This is all a part of the purge, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a huge part of the purge. So now Mexico says, okay, we're so-called in a cooker, huh? So you think we're in a cooker, huh? Okay, cool. What we'll do is that we know how to fix you. You say we don't have any leverage. You say that we don't have any room to move. Well, we have something that the whole world needs. We have assets. And those with assets dictates the overall agreements. They control the economy. So what does Mexico do? They can easily go to China. And China would be willing to do business with Mexico. Oh, man, this is going to blow up so bad. And then all of a sudden, you'll hear a surprise. Mexico has had a change of heart. They'll say, you know what? America and Donald Trump, you're right. We do need a wall. And you know what? Mexico is even going to pay for your wall, just like you said. And lo and behold, the trap has been set. This is going to really, really fall apart. When I read this, the relative players for 90 days, that means they're going to be reaching out to China, all of the BRIC nations. I would not be surprised if all of a sudden Mexico will be a part of the consortium of nations that make up the BRIC nations. It's all coming into focus, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not good for the situation here. So check out that article. Next article. Didn't mean to go too far in that. Next article. Very, very important one. This is going to be one that we're going to highlight. This comes from express.co.uk. It's a publication out of the UK. Global takeover. Brussels vows to seize leadership of the free world from Trump-led U.S. Did you hear that? And let that sink in for a second. Global takeover. Brussels vows to seize leadership of the free world from Trump-led U.S. We're going to feature this article because it's very, very important. Next one, another one that we're going to feature. This one comes from farnews.com. And this one from Iran. Iran basically, this article, we're going to feature this one. Iran basically said, let me just pull this up really quickly. Iran said in their response to the United States, saying that the United States said that the National Security Advisor, Michael Finley, is it Finley or I can't remember right now. Michael Flynn said that they were putting, you heard it here on Tando Radio Show yesterday, putting Iran on notice for their ballistic missile testing. And then today, also, but before we do that, let me just hit this one real quick. And then today, and then we have an article from Press TV, presstv.ir. This comes from Iran itself. Trump to Iran. Nothing is off of the table. Nothing is off of the tables in terms of response to Iran's ballistic missile test. Trump made the comments today, in response to the questionings by reporters about whether he would consider military options to respond to Iran. A day after his national security advisor, Michael Flynn, put Iran on notice. Well, and then they came out that they're going to put sanctions on Iran. Well, Iran had a response, and this was Iran's response. And this is the article that we're definitely going to check out today, one of the featured articles. And this comes from FarsNewsAgency.com. Throwing sand in the gears of Trumpism. Iran puts the U.S. on notice. And we definitely need to take a look at this. This is critical, ladies and gentlemen, because it tells us where things are going and why you need to be thoroughly prepared for the onset of things to come. Next article from Sputnik News. Russia officials confirm heavy shelling of in the Ukraine by Ukrainian forces. So, and this was from Wednesday. The Eurasian and the Ukraine and the Baltic states are starting to really become even more further destabilized through military conflict in the Ukraine, and it's going to spread throughout the Baltic states, and it's going to spread throughout Eurasia, and is going to be a catalyst in the World War III scenario that's going to lead to global thermonuclear war one, global nuclear war one. Okay, so check out that. Next article, this one comes from Business Insider. No federal funds. Trump threatens UC Berkeley after campus erupts in protests over one of, I don't even like to say these folks, a speech that was going to be given there from one of Breitbart's writers. So check out that article. Next one, This one comes from globalresearch.ca. Crisis of the EU banking, breakup of the European Union. ECB, which stands for European Central Bank head Mario Draghi. Crisis of the ECU banking. Draghi's speech at the investment conference in London both markets at the time and forced down Spain and Italy borrowing costs after saying within our mandates the ECB is ready to do whatever it takes to preserve the euro because it's falling apart. So check out, that is going to be a part of this whole destabilizing situation economically, geopolitically, militarily, and that is going to bring about some very, very severe and a clear and present danger to every person that is here, especially those that are not prepared. But those that are going to be prepared that are here, you will be able to have the leverage to seize on the opportunities to preserve yourself and to put yourself and your family and our community in a position of advantage. So seize these opportunities, prepare for these things. Next article from RT. China tests intercontinental missiles with 10 warheads, reports. China has reportedly tested a new modification for its Dongfang 5 ICBM capable of carrying a payload of 10 individual warheads. The test may indicate a shift in China's nuclear policy or an attempt to put pressure on the Trump administration, experts said. So check out that article. Next article. This one comes from Business Insider as well. Trump accuses Australian Prime Minister of trying to send U.S. the next Boston bomber in the worst deal ever. This is about those tough conversations. Apparently, well, let me read this real. The celebrity figurehead, U.S. President, CEO Donald Trump accused Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull of trying to send America the next Boston bomber. And they were actually Chechen, and it's but I think he's talking about just overall acts of terrorism that's going to be here because of the deal that was brokered under the last administration to send refugees here. So, in a phone call between the two national leaders to discuss Australia's plan to send refugees to the United States, Trump. And I'm not going to pull this up. Well, what happened, Trump went off on, it was supposed to be an hour long, and it was only like 25 minutes. And I guess he was actually laying into, basically said that he talked to a bunch of people that day yesterday, and his call with him was the worst one. And he was tired of people trying to take advantage of the United States. And he wasn't going to put up with it in so many words. And he, because of this whole thing, he's saying he's not going to go on that deal. But the day before, Trumbull said something very, very important that he addressed to the world, and it was an address. It wasn't the other day, but he said something at Davos or in response to Davos meetings. What he said was he actually, from hearing the inaugural speech of Trump, this is why Trump was already mad at him. He was saying that the world has no room for that type of protectivism that Trump wants to have. That's going to destabilize everything. And that was around about what he said. So he got on Trump's bad side. And Australia is critical. And let me tell you, China is sitting back and loving this because remember what Trumbull said when they went to China. He said that he has chosen to do deals with China after the United States told him not to and to walk away from those deals. And he said, no, we're going to do it. And then that's where they start to shut down some of their military installations or kick. This is where the United States start to kick out Australian people from the military base that they have down there, the listening post that they have down there. They kicked all of the Australian-born contractors and people that work there out of that location. Remember that? Very, very critical, ladies and gentlemen. This whole thing is falling apart. So today we're going to talk about current events, and from a discerning aspect. Very, very important in my opinion, and we need to do that. But if you have any questions or comments, this whole thing is starting to really show its face for what it is going to be, and is exactly what we said, in my opinion, what it was going to be. You're going to see the purging of the United States globally, and it's not going to get better. It's only going to continue to ramp it up and to go into diverse ways and diverse means. It's going to lead to the same end road of war, of receivership, bankruptcy, and insolvency of the United States. That's what this whole thing, in my opinion, is how it's going to go. So we're going to feature a couple of articles that we need to talk about so that you will know exactly where we are. But at any time, if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 866-510-9025. That's 866-510-9025. So let's get into today's show. First article I want to bring up, and it's a very, very important one. One of the things that I had talked about here on Tando Radio Show with you all is that said that there's going to be a purge, that the system needs to reset itself to ensure the overall survivability and the health of the subjugation and the global enslavement paradigm, in which is actually used and leveraged against every citizen in this world to maintain that paradigm so that will not be threatened. And what they do, what the system did is it created nation states, it created empires, so that those empires can fall by them falling, it releases the stress on the overall enslavement paradigm. Okay, and it actually gives them even more position. So very, very important. So I want to go to this article. EU wants to become, and this is posted there inside of BTR community, the Tando Radio Show page. The EU, which stands for the European Union, wants to become the new free world. Wants to become the new free world to seize title from Donald Trump's U.S. EU wants to become the new free world, and I guess they meant to put leader, to seize that title from Donald Trump. So check out this article. Let me just pull this down really quickly. Very, very important. And read between the lines and see from what we've been talking about here on Tando, how this whole thing is shaping up. It says Brussels should take over the role of the leadership of the free world from America because of Donald Trump's isolationism policy, a key EU figure has said today. Maltese Prime Minister Joseph Muscat said the election of the new U.S. president gave Europe the opportunity for leadership in a way, in leadership it has always craved, and urged the bloc to unleash a foreign policy blitz. He claimed countries around the world will be looking to Brussels for leadership in the aftermath of Mr. Trump's shock victory, which has been followed by a slew of controversial policy announcements. It goes on. Mr. Muscat spoke as the European leaders prepared to gather in his home country in the capital of Valletta for what will be the final meeting of the EU Council before British triggers Article 50, and that is the Brexit. Brexit and Mr. Trump's controversial Muslim ban are likely to be hot topics of discussion at the informal gathering get-together, which brings immigration under control is at the top of the agenda. And they have some of the EU leaders that's there. And let me tell you, Holland is there, and that's very critical because that's the celebrity figurehead president from France. And this is going to go into the next story that we're going to take a look at, so you can start to see all of these pieces are falling together. the EU is starting to position itself for the purge and the breakup and the overall, and what I like to say is the breakup of the United States. That's going to be the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, and everything is playing right into that plan. And we've been talking about that for a while and why you need to be prepared. So now, go on. Speaking today, Mr. Muscat, who holds extra clout within his tiny island home nation, holds the rotation EU president said Europe's anger at the new U.S. president must not translate into anti-Americanism. You hear what he said? Said Europe's anger at the new U.S. president must not translate into anti-Americanism. See, why was that? In my opinion, that was laid for this moment. It's going to be a wow moment. Wow, the U.S. has gotten so bad, now we need to have anti-Americanism because they have an American first policy, but that American first policy is going to be at our overall, on our backs. They're going to exploit us to have America first, which it always has been since the Bretton Woods Agreement, since the overall World War II, when they used nuclear weapons against people, innocent people within that happen to live on the island of Japan, known as Japan. And from that, they were able to have a bully pulpit to position themselves to say, do as I say, or else we'll send our military and all of our, and then that's where this whole thing, see, this is all laid for what is going to be set up in the future. And it goes on, the article goes on. In an interview, he said that the EU has decided whether it's coming of age or not. This is the real big challenge ahead. Do we want to be the first of the followers or the leaders? I do see this as an opportunity for Europe to gain the leadership role that it has always craved for. Let me move this down. There is an obvious vacuum where countries around the world are looking for leadership, and this is an occasion that has come once in a couple of generations that Europe has now. Let me stop there. Do you hear what they're saying? This is the purge, ladies and gentlemen. The old playbook that was used to put the United States as the so-called, which it never really was, the beacon of freedom, they're going to use that same playbook, but they're just going to transfer it a while. This is the EU, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't Russia. This ain't China. This ain't Iran. This isn't, this isn't North Korea. This isn't Venezuela. This is the setup, the purge. And they're going to have a methodical approach of how they're going to do that so the whole world will buy into it. And they're going to continue to show the U.S. as the ones that are taking the initiative. And their initiative is always arrogance, colonialism, by force, by fear, and by theft, and by military might and economic sanctions, so that they can exploit the world and to indebt the world to their quality of life and standard of living. This is why he said we can't be anti-Americanism. The new president we don't have to like. We don't need to be anti-American. But see, they're going to do that once they say that the American people are now completely bought into this guy and all of those things he supports. So now they're the biggest threat to the global community stability. Man, this thing is being set up so bad. This is why they said in here, they tell you everything. This occasion that has come once in a couple of generations that Europe has now. He told the website that the European leaders and voters should take exception when the administration of Mr. Trump, and not forget that the United States have been a longtime ally of Brussels. And he added that the EU must give out a message that it is ready to be a key player by persuading an ambitious foreign policy, including sealing a free trade deal with, who do you think this article said? China. Pursue an ambitious foreign policy, including sealing a free trade deal with China. This is critical, everyone. And I want to really talk about why this really should matter. This is the purge, once again, ladies and gentlemen. There was a reason why celebrity figurehead Donald Trump was selected. It wasn't by votes. It was a matter of preservation, the preservation of the overall enslavement, the global enslavement paradigm. Because they're about to bring in the conflict, the crisis that's going to turn into a conflict that is going to require that the system provide the necessary solution, and they will do just that. It's the perfect setup. Why? Because it worked so well before in the past. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They don't care really about the people that see this stuff coming. They want to maintain their overall margin of control over the people that have no clue what this is going on, what's about to happen. And they're going to use them, they're going to use their energy, their way of life to provide for their means of life. So it went on. I do not think we should be rubbing our hands with gleam. I do not think we should be rubbing our hands with gleam. He lamented and said, I do not think that we should be rubbing our hands with gleam. That's because they are. This is going to be the perfect opportunity that people are going to fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. These governments don't go at war with each other. They go to war against every person that lives, every living being that lives here. Everyone that they want to control is the one that they have an act of the declaration of war against. But you and I are schooled to think that is done by nationalistic, culturalistic ways and views and ideologies and language and economies for the betterment of the people, so the people of different areas and regions of the world could have their fair share. That's never what it's all about. That's what you've been schooled and indoctrinated to and domesticated to. Because under that system, they rule, you lose. So, said we should not be gleaming, we should not be rubbing our hands with gleam. That means that they are. In fact, I think it is sad that such a man has been elected president of the United States in a situation that we would rather not be expecting. This is going to lead to where others in the EU, in my opinion, are going to follow this overall ideology and this agenda and this movement and this energy. Because they're going to make sure that the events that happen in the future will foster that. And this is going to be where they're going to, the key to magic is not to trick you, but to make you believe. The article goes on to say, the Maltese prime minister insists that Europe must take more action on the global stage, may also be seen as a plea to fellow EU leaders not to let the bloc be taken over by the post-Brexit Britain. Bureaucrats have been alarmed at the way the UK has embraced the rest of the world following the June 23rd vote, reaffirming old ties and putting agreements for trade deals in place. Brussels has watched in a hopeless as Theresa May and Trade Secretary Fox have toured the globe, drumming up business for Britain. and will be desperate to strike a big deal such to provide the EU's continued relevance. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is critical. This is the purge. They're going to continue to have events that happen to deceive you, to think that it's one thing that's happening when actually it's something else. And they're going to have events of economics. They're going to have events of war. And if you listen to this article, what did Muskrat say? We need to cut deals with China. Who do you think the president of Mexico is on the line with right now after Donald Trump so-called blasted him on the phone conversation? He didn't respond. He just let him talk. Do you think that he's on the phone with the EU? Without a doubt. Do you see the stage that's being set? Do you see how this can adversely affect you? We're going to talk about how that can, but there's one more article that we have to get into. Very, very critical. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. This is some of the current events that we need to talk about. So what I'm seeing that's very critical is that the rest of the world is allowing the United States, particularly in the celebrity figurehead Donald Trump, to present a position that they can counter and become more relevant once they start to trigger the events that will facilitate what they want. They have plausible deniability now, because what are they doing? They're telling everybody, see, we need to do something else. This is an opportunity for us to be leaders, because there is no leadership out of there. That can't be trusted. And it's going to continue to unfold. This is how you get into the 96-hour margin call, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly how you get into the 96-hour margin call. And this is going to lead to the 96-hour margin call, because there are going to be different nations all over the globe that are going to have a margin call on the United States and its economic system. And its military is incapable of fighting against the world, but the world will be lining up against it. There will be no allies, none whatsoever, in my estimation and from what I'm seeing. And it's all falling into perfect. Now, the EU article is important that Holland of France was there, and here's why. When we look at our next featured article that we're going to look at, has everything to do with Iran. And Iran is a key clog to this whole thing. Why do you think, and when we come back, we're getting ready to go to a commercial break. We really, really need to hammer this down and see what this really, really means for you and why it's so important for you to be preparing. You should, in my estimations right now, you should be not wasting your energy or your notes on frivolous things. You should be presenting and protecting yourself and your family. Got you, Scotty. You should be protecting yourself and your family as much as you possibly can, because there is going to be a reestablishment of the economic system. There is going to be a geopolitical switch, a economics switch, and a resource switch. There's going to be a wealth transfer, ladies and gentlemen, and now is the time for you to acquire the essentials that you and your family need. And it always goes back to the table of preparedness. Why? One of the most important things, like, when Brother Davis was talking yesterday, one of the most important things about preparing is this. It really doesn't matter how much you have. What it really does matter is what energy do you use? Because some are going to be caught by these events flat-footed. But that doesn't mean that they have to stand there and take it. They're going to have to be able to transfer into a thought process of, okay, I knew this was coming. Because of that, I started to notice different things in my environment around me. I started to know what was important. I started to understand what are some of the things that I need that I don't have, and I'm not threatened by these events or this climate or this energy that has overtaken everyone else, because while they are thinking based in emotions and in fear, you can be strategical of thought. That is the most important thing about preparing, is that you don't look at all the things that you have. That is just an extension of your thought process. You have to change the way you think. You have to change the way you resonate. You can never resonate from fear. Fear, the person of valor and the coward both experience fear at the exact same time. The coward is paralyzed by the fear, while the person of valor is motivated to action. By you mentally preparing yourself and seeing what's going on, and every single person that listens to the Tando Radio Show, you are preparing yourself psychologically, because you've been thinking different than what you thought before. Even if you agree or disagree with what we talk about, that's not the matter. But when things do hit the road, you won't really care about what you agreed with me and what you disagreed with me about during Tando Radio Show. You will appreciate that you heard it and that you listened. And you listened by your sovereignty, your self-determination, your direction. Listen, when we come back, we need to talk about how this all plays into Iran. This is huge, and how this can affect everyone else here, especially those that are not prepared. And it's not going to be you that is going to be as adversely affected by this. But let's take a look at those that will be the unprepared. You're listening to Tando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks.
Black Talk Radio since 2008, providing new black media for the masses.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Tando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave from LA, coming to you live from FEMA Region number 6. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. And we will see you in queue. Just hit star, and we will see you in queue, and definitely will bring you up. We're looking forward to talking to you all. Okay, so what we were doing in the last hour, this is the last hour of the show, so definitely jump in at any time. If you would like to, would love to hear from you all, because I think it's very, very critical that we represent ourselves and to have some of the conversations that I think are very, very, very important and critical for us all to have. So let me just get ready for the next hour. One of the things that we just were talking about is what's being planned around the world. And I want you to start to map this out from your own, for yourself. On to the north of the United States, they have an ally that's becoming an enemy by way of NAFTA trading. to the south of the United States. You know what's to the south of the United States. Mexico is a hot topic. One of the things that why Mexico is being targeted is because of the assets that they control. So that is there. There's also on the east of the United States is Asia, the ASEAN nations, as well as China. And in that area, you have North Korea. South Korea is an ally of the U.S., but wouldn't be surprised in the future that they won't be. They won't be. The Philippines has now flipped. Taiwan will flip because China will ensure that happens by way of military intervention. But also, Japan will too. Japan will too. And let me tell you one thing about Japan. Why Japan will? Because all Japan will have to do is say, remember what happened to us in World War II, what they did to us. And that will be a rallying cry for what they want to do. Now, Japan and China have some historical things, but see, this is all part of it all. But Japan will come around because China actually offered Japan and the Philippines an opportunity to be a part of the consortium of nations in trade and to be one of the founding countries. And Japan at the last minute didn't do it. They offered it to Taiwan and they offered it to the Philippines. You know what the Philippines did? So now that's the east. To the west. To the west. Now you're starting to get the EU. You're starting to get Germany. Wherever Germany goes, France has to follow. You're getting Germany. And now you're starting to get in the Eurasian nations. You're getting Russia. Now you're getting the Middle East. Are you starting to see the picture that's being established? In Africa, Libya, you have all of the other countries in Africa. They are not aligning themselves. You have South America. You have Central America. You have South America. You have Venezuela. Colombia does, but I don't think Colombia will be able to hold off the Chinese and hold off the BRIC nations and hold off the European nations that decide to come together. Don't think that they're going to do so. What are they going to do? They're going to flip too. You see the picture that's being put together. So I say that for this. Now, this next article, and you see that there was the United States so-called put Iran on notice for testing a ballistic missile, saying that it was a violation of the negotiation, the negotiation and agreement that they had, and Iran is saying no. So now the U.S. celebrity figurehead Trump said that, and let me say this about. I have no horse, no dog in this race as far as the overall political. I am a political atheist. I realize that the Democrats and the Republicans both get a check from the overall wage of the people that are here, and they have a vested interest to be relevant. And how do they become relevant? By drama. These individuals mean you no good. They mean to continue to think, to give the perception that they're there for you, and then that there's someone else that's become more powerful, and you need to give us more power. Because then when you give us more, then we'll have the event. And it goes back and forth, back and forth. And the thing about the tug of war is this. You're the one that's in the middle that's being pulled apart. You're the one that destabilizes. And they're not pulling you to gain your overall approval. They're pulling you to destroy you. They're pulling your energy out of you so that they can use it for their overall benefit. So now, in this time, very important article we just came out of. One of the things about it, and I was saying that France was there, and it's very cheap. France is getting oil from, we talked about it here on Tando, from Iran. India is getting oil from Iran. Even during the height of the sanctions against Iran, Iran's economy was being decimated. So what did Iran do? They couldn't use SWIFT, they couldn't trade, and they couldn't have the petrodollar exchange for oil. So what did Iran do? They said, cool. Instead of paying in cash, from now on, you got to pay us in gold. India jumped in. France jumped in. Since the sanctions have been lifted, Iran has been selling their oil. And Iran presents a significant amount of oil production in the world. A significant amount. So they can't just be silent. Now, so we need to look at this. There's an article that we posted there inside of Tando. And then we'll put this together, and then you can see why this is so relevant. This is one of the featured articles. It's from Far News. And this is critical because this is Iran's response to the U.S. with saying that they've been put on notice and that military option is on the table. Well, Iran has said, well, that's fine. We have a military as well, and we will defend ourselves from you because, like the rest of the world, we see you for who you truly are, in so many words. And we're going to take a look at this article that was put out. And let's pull it up. Okay, here we go. It says, oh man, I had it. Should have never left. Okay, 1 second. Let me just get this thing to reload, and I should have never left. Around this time every day, my computer do be acting funny. But that's all right. It's not my computer. It's, I didn't create it, because if I were to create it, it wouldn't be working the way it works. But, okay, here we go. Let me just move this around. All right, so now what's critical about this is Iran's response. And I want you to pay close attention to now put all of this together so that you can see what's really going on and how this is going to play out. As soon as I can get this article to come back up, I will appreciate that. Come on, article. May have to go back into, because I didn't memorize the article. Used to be able to do that, but I can't do that anymore. So trying to pull this article up. Okay, here we go. Here's the article. This one comes from farnews.com. farsnews.com. Throwing sand in the gears of Trumpism, Iran puts the U.S. on notice. Iran is not going to sit idly while the Trump administration demonizes Iranian citizens and violates international protocol. According to the Foreign Ministry statement, Iran would stop the U.S. Let me move this down. According to Foreign Ministry statements, Iran would stop U.S. citizens from entering the country in retaliation to Washington's visa ban against Iran and 6 other Muslim countries. Iran is also seeking to replace the dollar with a new common foreign currency in all financial and foreign exchange reports. Stop right there. Now, Iran. Do you think that Iran just went about this haphazardly, just out on a whim and just decided that, okay, we're just going to wait for something to happen, and then we're going to drop the dollar? Or do you think that since the sanctions have been lifted, after they've been selling oil for gold, they established relationships with other countries throughout the world? And one of the things that they said and established those relationships with other countries throughout the world a couple of years ago, when it went through this oil problem that's been happening, which I know that, in my opinion, is the oil went down so that the strategic reserves of the countries could fill up their strategic reserves for war, that Iran has been establishing relationships with different countries throughout the world. And what do you think their anthem is to all of them? You know what? This United States country is getting out of hand. It's totally getting, and then you know what you think is it's just us, but believe me, they're gonna come after you too. That was going to be the mantra, and that was the call. And then during that time, what happened? France decided to buy oil from Iran. India bought oil from Iran, and these are allies of the United States. There wasn't anything that they couldn't do to them. They didn't come back. They actually put pressure on them to create an agreement to where the sanctions could be lifted. So now when they say that Iran is also seeking to replace the dollar and a new common foreign currency, with a new common foreign currency in all financial and foreign exchange reports, Iran, that tells you that Iran has been brokering this deal with countries throughout the world for a while now, and they're all on board. This is why the EU now is talking so boldly. Brussels is saying what they're saying. This is why Muscat said what they said. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
I have a question. Well, couple of questions. When you talked about the sanctions that Iran was under and the relationships that they established in using real money, getting real money in exchange for the gold, it doesn't seem like those sanctions will be terribly effective. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Could we apply that to Iran with this scenario?
Scotty? Yes.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but go ahead, bro.
And the other question, who do you think Gaddafi should have waited before he started talking about the African Union currency backed by the gold dinar? Or do you think possibly these other nations saw Gaddafi talking about that and saw how the U.S. responded and said, you know what, we found their weakness?
Yes, Scotty, it definitely. First of all, what doesn't make you weaker makes you stronger. That's exactly it. That's the best way to.
Well, I meant kill you. I'm sorry. I meant kill you. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah.
Yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Because it shows you a different opportunity that you didn't know that you had, and abilities that you didn't know. Exactly. Now, what happened is that when Iran was under sanctions, guess what? India came calling and said, "Hey, we'll go with your terms. We need oil." They said, okay, cool. France, same thing. Why did France do that? Because remember, that's the same time that the Ukraine had jumped off and they weren't getting gas. Because why? The U.S. was destabilizing everybody so that they could have to do what? Stay on the petrodollar standard. Stay under the thumb and the control of the United States. But see, that was the setup for everything. So, yes, that's exactly what didn't kill Iran, made them stronger, and it made the rest of the world stronger. I'm going to tell you this. I've always believed this, that big business has a way of making enemies friendly. And that's exactly what happened when the rest of the world, Iran had something that the rest of the world needed. And they were getting it at a asset price that was better for what they needed to do. And it didn't come along with all of the other tail running that they had to do with the United States. They didn't have to cower. So now, yes, that's definitely, and so because of that, they were able to go into the market. That's why OPEC was mad at Iran, because they said, we're not scaling back anything. We selling oil. And the rest of the world appreciated that. Because then they weren't being controlled by who? Kissinger. So now, with Gaddafi, should Gaddafi have waited? I firmly believe that the system set Gaddafi up because they knew who he was, and they wanted to use and leverage Gaddafi accordingly. They knew what he was about because Gaddafi, this ain't new to Gaddafi. Gaddafi has been actually talking about this and actually strategizing this he came on the scene doing that with the coup, when he took over Libya. One of the first things that he did in the coup was that he kicked out Chevron and Exxon out of Libya. Kicked them out, nationalized it, and changed that around to where it was going to be beneficial to the people that were there. He became public enemy number one. So they said, man, we're going to use this for leverage. He was in on the Hunt brothers out of Texas, cornering of the silver market. Marcos out of, the Philippine president at the time, and the Saudis. One of the Saudis was in on it. And Gaddafi, in my opinion, yes, it was far too early. But see, I think what happened was that Gaddafi was also given bad information as to the timing of everything. I think that he was actually used by others so that they could profit by his overall demise of things. And with his African Union using a gold dinar, where they would only trade for assets by being paid an asset for an asset, the world realized that was the solution and the way that they could destabilize the United States in the future. But what they first needed to do was further demonize and further get the U.S. into panic and to extend their overall indebtedness, so that they, at the perfect time, they would become much weaker. One of the things, in my opinion, is that they wanted a war, the U.S. to engage itself into a war, to totally exhaust its overall armaments and its cachet of weaponry, to expend that as much as possible so that they would be in a weakened state when they go into war. One of the things about battle is this: let your enemy be totally exhausted before you engage them. And that's exactly what this system has done. The U.S. has been in its longest war that it's ever been in history. It has lost much influence, and the thing about it, it was continuously losing influence, prevalence, and overall economic standing. The longer the war went on, it was a complete, and that was one of the tools that, Gaddafi was used, and he should have seen that he was being used. He should have just continued to do what he was doing, some of the things that he was doing at that time. But that's, in my opinion, what happened. So that's what I think with Gaddafi. And he just was too early. And see, one of the things about when you're too early, people always want to steal your ideas and make it theirs and to use it to their leverage. And so you got to be completely careful of that. I got kicked off of the board. So, Scotty, 1 second, let me log back in. Got kicked off of the board, so I can't see if there's any callers. If there's a caller in queue, definitely just say excuse me while I get back into this. And
Yo, this is Doc. Can y'all hear me?
Hey, Doc Hawkins, what's going on?
Oh, man, not a whole lot. I hope everybody's doing well. I just wanted to chime in real quick, and I got to bring water into this situation.
Without a doubt.
Y'all, hey man, I got something really weird to tell y'all, and just go on the United Nations website and you'll see for yourself. March 22nd is World Water Day, right? And you would think that there would be a whole host of events across the country, and there are some. But for the most part, these Water Day events are basically fundraisers and 5K events and stuff like that. But none of those events are actually educating people about the importance of water. And that's actually scaring the hell out of the United Nations, because here's the numbers that I received directly from one of their people, a lady by the name of Anna Nylander. All right, she said that the average American, and get this is going to sound crazy, but I've seen the math and she's right. The average American uses over 500 liters of water a day. The average African uses around, I think it's 5 to 14. Right? Now, if you go to the United Nations website and look under events, you'll see my event here in Houston on March 22nd. It's being held at the Palladium AVX Theater. It's the largest event in the entire country, right? It's the largest event on World Water Day. And now these people are starting to reach out to me. Now, this young man that reached out to me today, he basically sent me some information that it kind of tripped me out, if you want to know the truth. And that information is what they call international water law training. But take a wild guess where it's starting, where the beta test is, in Africa. And to be honest with you, I haven't read everything. I just got it today. But it's making me wonder, okay, if our brothers and sisters over there in Africa are just being highly intelligent and starting to hoard their own water resources and kick companies like Nestle and some of these others out, right, and say, hey, we know we're experiencing a worldwide water crisis. You got your water over there. We got our water over here. When your well runs dry, don't come over here. We got our own problems. So I don't know if that's the situation or if some of these multilateral corporations are saying, well, you know what, we're going to train the people in Africa to basically use even less water than they're using. And like I said, between 6 and 14 liters a day. So I don't know if they're trying to train our brothers and sisters there to use even less water so the corporations could come in and run amok like they've been doing and steal as much as possible and then bottle it and sell it around the world for a profit. So I don't know what the heck is going on. So I'm just reading this, and so I'm right in the middle right now. But this is something that the people that I spoke to from the United Nations are saying that is really needed. And let's just say, and there's only so much I can say right now, but basically I hope the brothers and sisters on the continent are just being wise about it, and they're partaking in this training and all that stuff to keep the foreigners out, because a lot of African ambassadors and heads of state are on board with this. And like I said, I just found this out today, so there you go. And I'll tell you something that I found out a couple of weeks ago. How true it is, I don't know, but just based on what I've seen in America, I don't put nothing past these people. And I mean nothing.
Right, Doc.
All right? Now, what I heard from this guy who really knows his stuff when it comes to water, he said here very soon you'll have to basically you'll have a smart meter type thing in your house where you'll have to type in the your code that ties into your bank account, and they'll deduct money from your account and turn on your water, 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, or give you a certain gallon. Just say, for example, if you type in your code and you got $20 in your bank account, they may release 100 gallons of water to your house at that day. But from what he was telling me, after a while, there's not going to be any of this. You just use the water for a whole month, and then they bill you later. You're going to have to pay first and then get your water, So, again, I don't put nothing past them, but we better start taking the situation seriously. And like I've always said, it's about the water, man. It boils down to the water. No matter how you slice it, it's going to come down to the water. There are secret world water wars being fought as we speak. There are several going on in Africa right now, and the media is not even covering it. So like I said, go to UN Water. You don't have to go to my website. Go to theirs. Go to UN Water, and you'll see who's hosting the largest event in America. And those other guys, they're hosting very small virtual events, and they're not paying attention. And the young lady, Anna, that's been communicating the most with me, she basically said, yeah, the Americans are greedy. And, so the international community is trying to put a halt to what's going on in America as far as the water consumption. So we're going to see how that plays out. But I can tell y'all right now, as part of your preparations, you might want to start getting you some water tanks or something and storing you some water.
Yeah, man, Doc, so true, because that's and you know what, Doc, we got to have you back on to talk about this event that you're going to be hosting in Houston for with the UN on the water situation, and I think it's keen, and you'll be able to see and actually feel for yourself the overall energy and where things are going. It's a matter of resources, and the rest of the world is saying, hey, the U.S. is no longer going to manipulate resources to where. Right. And that smart meter thing, man, Doc, yes, yes, they are. And you think about it, it's going to be a water tax and a water it's really a water tax and a water toll. You got to pay first for it. And man, this is really critical because it says a lot about where things are going, and it really sets up what the rest of the world is going to do. The world is going to be divesting themselves of the U.S. because they are the best in my surmise. I mean, and how I surmise it all is that they are consuming things that they don't have. They are squandering the resources that are precious that everyone should be engaging in and sharing in. And that's what the overall mantra is going to be, is that, hey, we don't need to be dictated by one nation, by a superpower. And then they get to consume the resources.
What I could do is read, let's say, a paragraph or two of what I've been reading for the last several hours. I can read y'all some of this, and I can tell you where to go.
Hold on, Doc. We got to get ready to go to a commercial break. One second, Doc. We got to go to a commercial break. When we come out of the commercial, we'll do that, and then we'll get back on this. You're listening to Tando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Black Talk Radio, your choice for digital black radio. New black media for the new millennium.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Tando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. And if you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Doc Hawkins, if you're still there, yeah, definitely go ahead and bring up that paragraph that you wanted to read. Hopefully we didn't lose Doc.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, now there's this organization that's also pushing it called Global Water Partnership, and they are also a UN partner. And and by the way, guys, you'd be surprised if you talk to the right person, your organization can become a partner as well. My partnership was made official last Friday. All right, so let's just go ahead and go here. GWP is organizing a training on international water law in Africa together with partner organizations. The training will take place in Uganda 5 to 11 June 2017. And up to 50 people can participate with funding available for 30 African-based participants. Now, just pay close attention to what they just said. Only 50 participants, right? So, and let's go ahead and go here. They say the aim of the training is to improve transboundary water management in Africa by strengthening the capacities of institutions and basin organizations. And it's a long, tiring article. And as a matter of fact, you could just go to www.g as in good, WP as in Paul, .org, and look under news and activities. All right? And they'll explain to you exactly what's going on. And we have a few people in Africa right now, in Ghana, Kenya, and the Congo, working with companies there in the local government, pushing the NASA filters and also the industrial and commercial water purifiers. And I'm telling you right now, man, people are really sick of the stuff that's going on in America. America's made a lot of enemies, y'all, especially when it comes to this water thing. It really, truly has. So a lot of brothers were asking basically, now, why the hell would you get with the United Nations on that? The same reason Malcolm X did. And if you pay attention, Malcolm X said that's something that we need to do. We need to take it to the international community. For the most part, and I'm just keeping it real, Black America wasn't even listening. When I tried to talk about the water purification, cats wasn't listening. They didn't appreciate the fact that I was selling those filters for $175. Nobody else was doing that. You know what I'm saying? And so I went to the international community where I could talk to black folk that are ahead of whole countries, you know, on the motherland, people that actually get this stuff, and build with them and see what we can do to establish some type of trade. Because as you know, David, that's something we're not doing. We're not right. Trading internationally. We're not importing or exporting anything from Africa, and I think that needs to stop. You know, I think that we got to start paying attention to this stuff if we're going to survive, because we got babies in these schools, and it's coming out more and more and more that all of these schools in America are just saturated. Their water is saturated with lead, both types of lead.
Exactly. Doc, you got a question. Scotty wants to ask you a question really quickly. Can you take a couple of questions?
You bet.
Hey,
what's up, Scotty?
Scotty, you had a question for Doc Hawkins?
Yes. Well, more of a comment towards his comment about Malcolm X, and for the most part, I would have to agree based off of the perception of the mainstream media. And because of these showcase organizations like the NAACP, Urban League, National Action Network, none of these organizations are heeding Malcolm's advice and taking them to the courts. But there are people from baby boomers to Gen Xers to millennials who are doing that type of work. And you just don't hear about it because of the controlled media. And so, Doc Hawkins, I want to invite you to tune in or check out their past podcast. It's called Race Treaty. That's a show that comes on Friday nights on Black Talk Radio Network at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time. And some of the hosts they have brought in, and they do a rotating host type thing. So a different one might be hosting a different week. but they have been, some of them sit on some of the UN committees, like Sister Dawudi. She's a Haitian voodoo priestess, but she sits on one of those committees or is a chair on one of those committees. And if you listen to that program they did last night, you had a brother and a sister in Chicago that's approaching the police brutality, slave catching issues, modern slavery, approaching it from human rights. And so I just want to, implore you to make a connection. I have heard them talk about working with other groups, on the water rights issues and pushing that. So please plug into that show, and then perhaps you could reach out to, some of the people whose information is being given out, and they could help you, further with your efforts. Y'all could collaborate, and make it that much bigger. That's all I wanted to share.
You know what? And I appreciate you sharing that. And heck, I already hate that I missed, that episode last night, because that's the kind of stuff I like to tune into. And I'm sorry, y'all, if my voice is going in and out. Somebody's trying to call me right now. So, but yeah, Scotty, I'll definitely check them out. But what was the name of that show again?
Race Treaty.
Race Treaty. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check those
on Friday.
Those out.
Come on Friday. Hey Doc, let's we need to have you back so we could talk about this and synthesize this even more and lay this out, because it's not anything that can be done in the 15 minutes. It's just too important. It's just too important, and it's coming up pretty soon here. March is right around the corner, and we need to be engaging into that. So next week, give me a call, Doc, and then let's set up a time to come on so we can give this just due time. For this, because it really needs to be laid out, because there's so many people, so many things. So go ahead and answer that, but give me a call, Doc, and then let's set that up for next week. Let's do that, because it's right around the corner.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And y'all, we're gonna have some major people here. We're gonna have major people here. So yeah, we're gonna talk more about it later. But it was fun building with y'all. I'm just gonna mute myself and finish listening to the show.
Okay. All right, Doc, we'll talk. But call me when you can, Doc, so we can put that together.
Okay. All right, peace.
See, one of the things about this whole thing is that this is about assets, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about the rest of the world is not going to allow the manipulation of those things to be set forth by one country. And so this is going to create some real significant displacement. And so, but when we're definitely going to talk about that with Doc in a minute. So let me, because we only got 10 minutes left in the show. So what we're going to do, I just want to read this real quickly, and then we're going to come back on this. Tomorrow's Financial Friday. We'll do Financial Friday, and we'll do, this is really finance too, so we'll talk about this as well. So just want to read this real quick before we get out of here. And if you have any questions or comment about anything we talked about so far, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 866-510, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then hit **, and we'll see you in queue and bring you up. Okay, listen, here we go. Real quick, I want you to hear what Iran said. Remember that they set up Iran is also seeking to replace the dollar with a new common foreign currency. What do you think that new common foreign currency is going to be, ladies and gentlemen? They're telling you everything here. The world is going to move to what Gaddafi was talking about. But see, the thing is that Gaddafi didn't have the support of the international community at that time. But now Iran went about it in the way in which they garnished that first. And foreign exchange reports. The policy will come into force in March, next month, as the U.S. does not have a significant role in Iranian trade, which means the U.S. can't affect the overall trade that Iran does with the rest of the world. Their sanctions won't work. And this is why they said that they'll use sanctions and then everything else is left on the table. Well, let me tell you something. Iran is already prepared for everything else that's on the table. This is all going to be a setup, ladies and gentlemen, for what's going to happen. And could replace the current, and the U.S. does not have the significant role in Iranian trade, and could be replaced with a currency of key partners like the European Union and China. What did the European Union just say? That they want to do deals with who? China. And then what did just, from what we are saying, do you see this web that's coming together, ladies and gentlemen? And what do you think that currency is going to be? It's going to be their international currencies, but then they're also going to, don't be surprised that when China backs their currency with gold as a part, gold and other assets, and then Mexico will jump in on that as well. Mexico has been trying to, Selena's Price has been trying to get Mexico to back their currency with silver for a while. And let me tell you what held them up. China held them up. They're telling Mexico, in my opinion, wait, not yet. Not yet. We almost got everything right where we want it. So they said, here, check it, and could be replaced with a currency of key partnership like the European Union and China. Iran already has agreement with Russia, Turkey, and Iraq to use national currency in local trade. They're going to use their own currency, and then as this global thing starts to come about, they're going to say we're going to back it to get the confidence of everybody in the world. They're going to say the gold standard. And the thing about it is that the United States is going to try to beat them to it, and it ain't going to work. Because they're going to say the United States is going to try to go on a gold standard, but the rest of the world is going to say, wait a minute, but that's our gold you're trying to back your currency with that you stole. This is about to blow big time. Article goes on to say the U.S. ban, however, makes it virtually impossible for relatives and friends to enter 1 million and friends of an estimated 1 million Iranian Americans to visit the United States. The Trump administration is ratcheting up the rhetoric over Iran's recent missiles test, accusing it of being highly provocative and threatening non-specific actions which might include military force. The National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, said the Trump administration has put Iran on notice, claiming that the test threatens stability across the region and places American lives at risk. Other U.S. officials said a lot of options are under consideration. This is ridiculous. Iran has been on Washington's watch list and subject of unjust hostility since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, which ended the U.S. puppet Shah's rule, according to Mashar, the spokeswoman of the European Union Foreign Policy Chief. The Iranian ballistic missile test was not part of the 2015 nuclear deal, and hence the tests are not a violation of it. Nevertheless, Washington still claims very little happened to provoke the missile test. This is a misleading statement, too. Iran did not carry out the test in response to Washington's provocation actions. The missile test had been part of a parcel of U.S. Iran's defense doctrines for decades. They are never meant to put the U.S. on a war footing. It was never meant to put the U.S. on a war footing. The same way the Trump's decision to ban Muslims from traveling to the U.S. has put the international community on Iran's side over the matter. Did you hear what was said right there? This is the purge, ladies and gentlemen, particularly with so many European powers already concerned that the Trump administration is deliberately trying to sabotage the nuclear deal between Iran and the P5+1, meaning the unjust U.S. hostilities towards Iran has persisted for decades, with the nuclear deal changing nothing. True, the international sanctions end, but the U.S. ones largely remains in place with the new president, Donald Trump, and bipartisan Congress hardline is calling for more actions. Okay, so listen, let me end this, and we're going to pick this up again. What is really happening here, ladies and gentlemen? Iran already was prepared for this. Iran is testing ballistic missiles. China is testing their ballistic missiles. North Korea is doing it. Russia is doing it. Everyone is positioning themselves militarily. And what is the U.S. doing? They're creating enemies from the former allies that they thought that they had. Big business has a way of making enemies friendly. And this is the friendly relationship that they're all engaging in. And this is how this whole thing is unfolding. Then, lo and behold, Australia and Mexico had an announcement to the international community that they're not telling you about. They made a call to all of the international communities and said, remember when you offered us that deal about? I think it's time that we do that, because we just got a call from Trump. And he's becoming a threat to everything. It's not about collaboration. It's about isolation. So I think we're ready to take that deal. I think we need to further our relationship. I think we need to rely on more stability, more stable terms, because there is some real concerning policies that are being pushed upon by force. And it just doesn't work this way. This is not a business deal. This is an international relationship deal. And the setup is there, ladies and gentlemen. The setup is there. And so, listen, we got to get ready to get out of here. I just want to thank you all for listening to Tando Radio Show. Make sure you stand by. Dave, you have... Okay, we got about 10 minutes, but make sure you stand by for it. If you have any questions or comments, we got like 2 minutes left. You can give us a... Yep, you can give us a call. No, we don't have 2 minutes left. We got like 2 minutes left. Give us a call like 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. If you have any questions or comments, we have coming on right after Tando Radio Show is going to be BIB. So make sure that you're ready for that show coming on. We got about 5 minutes, so if you have any questions or comments, definitely jump in if you have that, and then we'll go from there. So what I want to end in is saying until we get those calls. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, I peeped this article today where the EU is meeting to do something about the Libya immigration problem. Now, mind you, that Gaddafi had that under control because, that's a jump-off point into Europe from Libya. I mean, people don't realize how close that part of the area of the world is in terms of, geography and whatnot. So a lot of migrants go to Europe looking for work out of Africa because of Europe and the Western nations destabilizing Africa and fleeing war. These are refugees. That's why when they talk about illegal immigration, if you really look at the destabilization of where they come from, then you would maybe perhaps consider them refugees.
Exactly.
But now they took out Gaddafi. And now all of these people are refugees is pouring into Europe, and now they don't like it. But those people, the basic, average Joe on the ground, he not even questioning his own government for creating the conditions in which these people who wants to leave a home. You know what I'm saying? Nobody willingly wants to leave their home, and nobody.
And that was the leverage that they used to destabilize for that exact event to happen. Right, Scotty, you're absolutely right.
Exactly. They create the problem and then come in like they got the solution.
Man, so true. And Libya is a gateway to Africa and to Europe. That's why it's strategically important because of its light sweet crude as well. So very, 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 very important. So what I want to do in ending in this is that I wanted you to really start to see what's unfolding here and what's really transpiring here and what's being created. The isolation that you see is actually a part of the agenda to destabilize and to establish a firmer grip. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the fracturing of what many call the United States. And you need to really be prepared for it. And, you know, the people that aren't prepared for it, and I'm going to end on this, by you being prepared for it, you will be able to seize on the opportunities that will spring up from this. You will not be at the behesting of the events, of the crisis. Yes, you will have to deal with the conflict and everything else, but you will deal with it with leverage. You won't be where leverage is going to be pressing on your chest, sitting on you. One thing about leverage is great when it works for you. It's not good when it works against you. So I just want to say thank you all, everyone. We'll pick this back up tomorrow on Financial Friday. We'll pick it up from here and put this all together. Very, very important. I just want to say to you all, thank you all for calling. Doc Hawkins, good to hear you, brother. Good. Hadn't talked to you in a little bit. Glad to hear you. Scotty, great chime in as always. And everyone else, I just want to say much love, much respect to you all. It's never goodbye. As always, we'll see you later. And before you ask for a fortune, make sure to give one away. BIB, Black in Business, is coming up right next with the golden voice of BTR community. Miss Harris is coming up. And Brother X, Robert X, is coming up. So much love, much respect. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.